before you try to fix anything specific in your diet and get into the really nitty-gritty details, get some more sleep. Find a way to get more sleep.
Welcome to CrossFit East 10's Over the Bar podcast. The goal of this podcast is to answer common questions and encourage conversation between coaches, members, and the community.
All right, so we're going to talk about common nutrition mistakes, and this is going to be probably pretty far-reaching as far as like the different types of people that experience these sort of mistakes and the things that go along with that. Just because for me personally, I get a lot of questions about nutrition that come from a lot of different places, a lot of different people really trying to understand how to implement nutrition in a kind of a smart and functional way, but they might be kind of preventing that from happening by just making some mistakes that they're either unaware of or something that maybe they've heard before and conflicts with what we'd want to have from a positive nutrition outlook and perspective. So I'll say that probably the number one thing that I see from a nutrition perspective that people make is, and this is going to be a little bit weird, but it's just not sleeping enough. Your body does a lot of stuff when you sleep, and it sets your body up to digest and do a lot of things really, really well. So very commonly, and I think I've mentioned this before, I could be wrong about that, I just say it so often that I think I say it all the time. If I'm working with someone, usually one of the first things that I'll recommend for them is start getting enough sleep. If I ask them, are you getting enough sleep? And they'll say yes. I'll ask them how much are they getting, and I'll basically always say that's not enough. You need to be sleeping more. So before you try to fix anything specific in your diet and get into the really nitty-gritty details, get some more sleep. Find a way to get more sleep. Whatever that takes, outside of adding in, we'll say like excessive supplementation or something like that at night, find a way to get some more sleep. Consistent sleep, do the thing that needs to get you into that position, whether it's listening to white noise at night, whether it's getting into a healthy sleeping environment, whatever that is, get some more sleep. Number one, bottom line, always going to be kind of my number one recommendation for somebody when it comes to mistakes that they might be making or something they're just unaware of. Do that. So the second thing that probably creeps up fairly often is looking at supplements to add into your diet, or the thing that you can do to get the most out of what you're eating, rather than doing most of the legwork with what your diet actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. Really the only kind of supplement that a couple that I would recommend for people are going to be a greens powder, and that's not to replace eating greens. That's just typically just to get a little bit of additional micronutrient value into their diet. So it's truly a supplement. It's not there as a replacement anything. It's there just to truly supplement what you're doing. And then fish oil, if that fits within your dietary preferences, whether that's fish oil or krill oil. There's a lot of research that's kind of pointing towards krill oil right now, which 5 years ago it was pointing away from krill oil. So, one of those two things, but something that gets you healthy omega-3s into your diet is what we want to do. So EPA and DHA, that could be flax oil if you have a vegetarian or a vegan diet. But we just want something that's going to get those into your diet, because it's going to be healthy fat. It's going to help with a lot of things when it comes to your central nervous system, hormonally help you in a very positive way. And then it helps a lot with kind of aches and creaks and stuff that come along with joints and things like that. Outside of that, there's not really going to be anything that I'm going to recommend for most people when it comes to their diet. If you have some specific goals, that's a different conversation to come along with that. But whey protein is absolutely not a necessary supplement. If you're not looking to increase your increase the anabolic window of post-workout, then whey protein is not going to be a necessary supplement, because you can eat lean protein within a couple of hours of your workout and still get a lot of benefit from it. It has value, but it should never be something that's in lieu of you already doing some other things. So supplementation is one of those huge questions that has a lot of answers, but in my opinion, and this is obviously just me speaking from experience and the things that I've seen with people, supplementation is usually not going to make a big enough difference that you need to invest in a large way in doing that. The other kind of biggest one, so these three are probably going to be the biggest, and then we can get into some smaller ones, but it's going to be when it comes to cheat day. And this is one of those things that cheat day has different meanings to different people and things like that. And I'll definitely say that you shouldn't, if there's food that you absolutely enjoy, we should be able to find a way to get that into your diet as long as it's not negatively affecting you or detrimental to your health. And I'll say that with the caveat that I'm like this cereal monster. I love having cereal. That's like my thing. Just a lot of different cereals. I'll have that before I go to bed every night, and that's something I'll mention very frequently to people because for me, it gives me a little bit of an insulin spike and generally helps me sleep better through the night. So I have a reason for doing it, and it might be an excuse. I don't know. But cereal is like something that I do. So I say all of what I'm getting ready to say with that caveat. So be aware of that. But cheat day, in a lot of ways, if we want to think about this, so let's say that we've got one cheat day that we have every single week. We're eating every other meal throughout the week. So let's say that we're active, we're eating 4 meals a day. We've got 28 meals over the course of 7 days. And we've got one day where we're either not tracking, not keeping up with, we're just eating what we want to eat, what feels right, all that sort of stuff. So that takes us to 24 meals where we are on point. Everything's measured, everything's accurate, everything's exactly how it needs to be, and we've got that one day where we just kind of do what we want to do. If we put that in perspective, let's say that you're someone who is on a kind of in a cutting phase where you're trying to lose weight, trying to lose body fat, whatever that might be, and our focus is to lose that sort of excess tissue and put us into a position where we're going to be more lean, perform better, whatever your goal is with that. And let's say that we're eating 250 calories less than what we should be eating each of those days. So over 6 days, that gives us 1,500 calories where we're in a deficit. If you take that day for your cheat day, and let's say that you have a couple of drinks that day, you go out with friends, you have food at a restaurant, you have let's say pizza, or you have just kind of a meal that you know is just kind of excessive, and then you do that over the course of 3 to 4 meals in that particular day, especially if we're eating out or we're ordering food from a menu somewhere and it's being delivered or whatever the case might be. 1,500 calories is really easy to pick up without realizing that you're doing that. So if all of the work that we've done for 6 days where we've been really, really accurate, we've done a lot of good work, and our goal, our stated goal is to lose weight, lose body fat, whatever that might be, and then the thing that we're doing where we're cutting out calories and we cover that gap immediately on cheat day every single week is going to prevent or be prohibitive to what that goal is going to be. So cheat day is something that you can absolutely do. It's something you can do in a smart way, whether that is finding alternatives in a certain way to what you're doing. Whether that's, let's say it's pizza and you do a cauliflower crust and you do limited amount of cheese, but then you've got like a homemade tomato sauce rather than the canned one or whatever, marinara, whatever it would be from the pizza place. And then you've pre-prepared the meat that's going to be on there. That way it's not filled with sodium, preservatives, the fat that comes along with those, super processed meats, all of that sort of stuff. If we can get lean meats on there, add some additional fruits and veggies and that sort of stuff, that really dramatically changes what that looks like. But if you're willing to sacrifice that and do cheat day, but you have to get it eating out, then let's limit the amount of food that you're eating when you do eat out. Instead of just taking advantage of that cheat day and saying, hey, I'm going to have half a pizza or an entire pizza. No judgment if that's what you want to do, but understand the repercussions of what that is. So you can't look at it and say, I'm killing it 6 days a week, and then one day, I have a cheat day and I have a couple of drinks and I do X, Y, and Z. Understand what that looks like. Track your cheat day one time. Be completely aware and honest with yourself on what that is, because without that honesty and the awareness that comes along with that, you can't make the decision that really makes sense for the holistic goal. So cheat day abuse is one of those things that's really easy to do, because whether you're aware of it, eating that additional calorie load makes a big difference in what you do the rest of those days. So we want to have that whole perspective on what does every day look like over the course of a week is what I'm generally going to recommend. So be aware of the calories that you're eating every day for that particular week, and then look at your net balance at the end of the week. If your goal is 2,500 calories a day, you're eating 2,200 those 6 days, but then you've got 4,500 that last day, then you're suddenly in a surplus without realizing it because you've eaten way above what you needed to eat, and you're in about a 500 calorie surplus where you're actually going to gain weight or you're going to add tissue onto what you're eating. So just be aware of what that looks like. So those are going to be the three biggest mistakes that we'll typically see whenever it comes to nutrition. The other ones that are going to be smaller are going to be kind of, first of which is going to be one that we've referenced before, and that's us following someone else's diet. Whether that is a meal plan they found online, whether that is a template they found somewhere, whether that is just something that someone else is doing, whether they've seen success on that or not, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to experience the same success. We're very individual as far as the way that our bodies process and do things. And to go along with this, Mitch DeShazer posted, I know on his personal Facebook page, but he may have posted it in the members group. I can't remember exactly. He posted an article about individualizing nutrition, which I think is very accurate, and something that we all kind of need to consider, and just understand that when you're looking at a meal plan, you're not looking at your meal plan, you're looking at someone's meal plan. Their idea of what a meal plan looks like for either an individual or what they see as an idealized meal plan. You need to have something that's catered to you if you're going to go down that path, and just kind of accept the investment that comes along with that. So following what someone else is doing can be kind of a huge mistake. Another one that I'm going to see, and this kind of goes along with what I was mentioning with the sort of anabolic window following the workout, is treating a workout like it's your entryway into eating anything that you want. That's just not the way that it works from a thermic perspective, from the perspective of what your body wants to have or what you're mentally kind of wanting to experience. The reason that you're working out is because you have some sort of goal with that, whether that's body composition, whether that's performance, whether that is the sort of social interaction that comes along with that. Your goal in working out, and again, this is going to be my opinion, should not be to give yourself the ability to eat what you want to eat. That's sort of missing the point, and it's kind of counterintuitive to what you're doing whenever you're being active. If you're, if it's in the rare circumstance that the reason you're working out is because you just really want to go home and crush that huge salad after you work out, then you're exempt from what I'm saying right now. But the people want to go, and that gives them the opportunity to eat the cake that they had leftover from a wedding over the weekend, the ability to eat pizza and, have that just sort of cancel out. That's not what we're looking for. So that's a mistake because it just opens up kind of a wormhole of eating literally anything after a workout, because you're looking at it as you've earned that ability to do that, rather than looking at it as you've earned the ability to get whatever the result of your workout is. To earn the ability to increase your capacity for a movement, earn the ability to move more functionally, earn the ability to go home, play, and do the things that you want to do outside of the gym is what we're really looking for. And we're trying to help all the other stuff give us the opportunity to do that. So just kind of doing it for the wrong reasons, but especially looking at it as, hey, I'm doing this because I want to earn my ability to eat X thing, is something that is super common, and we just want to remove that sort of reward system for that and understand that we need to have a different why for why we're coming in and working out, and then be honest about what that why is, so that way you're coming in for the right reasons over and over and over again. Another super common mistake is looking at just kind of, I'll say, not giving yourself the ability to stick with something for long enough to find the results. So that's looking at, for me, this is commonly people seeing what Dr. Oz posts or what's on the cover of a magazine and saying, well, what about this thing? And right now that thing is the keto diet. And again, it's not something that I've recommended to anyone other than an individual, and this was me a recommendation saying, hey, you need to do this in conjunction with a professional, not with me because it's not my area of expertise, but someone who is a diabetic and they really need to control what's happening with insulin in their body. That's the keto diet and what we're doing in a very specific way. But this goes into that larger picture of fads coming in and out of the kind of the nutrition or the diet industry, and this is what's popular right now: apple cider vinegar, or low carb, or Atkins diet, which is low carb in a different way, high carb, whatever it might be. And high carb is kind of one of those things that's on the edges and starting to become super popular as CrossFit athletes are talking about their activity level and how many carbs they're eating and all of that sort of stuff. And it could be the right answer for you, but trying it for a week and saying, hey, I gained 3 pounds this week eating high carb, that doesn't work for me, is not what we're looking for. When it comes to nutrition especially, you should see some results fairly quickly, but to allow your body to adapt to this new way of digesting and processing and doing things with macronutrients, you want to be able to give yourself enough time. And in a lot of cases, I'm going to say that's probably somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks. 6 is going to be a bare minimum for that, just so that way you really have the ability to implement that in a very full way instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to eat high carbs, so I'm just going to eat bread all the time. It's going to be pasta, or it's going to be rice. That's not eating high carb. That's just you adding a lot of carbs into your diet currently. So we want to take some strategies and implement that in a way. Going back to training and that sort of stuff, we want to implement these sort of things in a way that makes sense instead of just you coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to do class 3 times a day. Well, you would be doing the same workout 3 times a day. I think you can agree that that wouldn't be a smart decision because you're going to be working a lot of the same things over and over and over again. So we want to do this in a smart way if we're increasing training, the same as if we're doing anything new. So we'd want to do the same thing from a nutritional perspective, to give it a wholehearted chance and wholehearted opportunity to either succeed or fail. But you give yourself the opportunity to experience that success or that failure and then move on. Continue with it if you're seeing success. Make a change if you're starting to see, or if you know for sure that it doesn't work for you. Because again, that's something that's going to be very individual or very unique from one person to the next. Another thing that is going to be common from a nutrition perspective is not drinking enough water. And this probably goes a little bit higher on the list, but I think that in a lot of cases, we're getting enough fluid that we're not on the verge of dehydration or anything. But water specifically is what we need to be drinking more of. So whenever you have your protein shake and you put, let's say it's 20 ounces that you're putting into the bottle, the 26-ounce bottle, and you drink that doesn't count as water. It's fluid and you're getting hydration into your body, but it's not water because it's been changed. So it'd be the same thing as you saying, yeah, they use water whenever they make a Coke, but counting that as water, that doesn't work that way. So understand that whenever we say drink water and you need to drink, most of the time, a good basic starting point is to take your weight in pounds, cut it in half, and then that's what your goal should be in ounces that you drink in a given day. That's where you want to start, but you want to try to probably get up to, let's say, 120 to 125% of that number. So in most cases, that's going to put most people somewhere between 3/4 of a gallon or so up to about a gallon of water on the high end. And that's a good number to shoot for, but put yourself on kind of that lower end to start off with. Drink that intentionally as water and kind of go from there. And if you want to put something like fruit in your water, I know a lot of people use lemons or blueberries or whatever those sort of things are, and the diffusers to get that sort of flavoring in there. That's different than you putting something actually into the water, Gatorade, Coke, whatever it might be. It's fluid, but it doesn't count as water. So we want to get water in there because for the same kind of reasons, it helps us train, but it helps a lot with digestion and puts us into a situation where that stuff can kind of move. And I'll say something that's kind of an aside to that is, as you are thinking about drinking water, and it comes as it pertains to nutrition, is when you're drinking anything with a meal, try to not do that until about 30 minutes after the meal. And the reason for that is having a lot of fluid in your gut as you are digesting food can cause some digestive issues and some strain that we don't necessarily want to have there. So that's something that I've kind of done naturally is I just don't really drink a lot of stuff while I'm eating, but sometimes it'll just kind of happen. But I've tried to be more aware of not doing that until I try to give myself at least 15 minutes, but I try to shoot for about 30 minutes after I eat before I drink any kind of fluid or anything with it. That way, just my gut has the best opportunity to work through the food that's there and get the nutrients out of it without having sort of putting it in a position where all of that stuff's waterlogged and you have water just kind of sitting in your stomach as you're digesting. So, but if that's the way that you're going to get the water into your system, I would rather you drink the water than you being worried about that happening and then you just forgetting that you're drinking the water. So your priority is going to be drinking enough water versus the timing of drinking your water, as we're thinking about that. The kind of next thing we have is just whenever you say, hey, I'm going to have a diet, but I don't know why I'm going to go on a diet. You don't know if you want to gain muscle. You don't know if you want to lose fat. You don't understand why you're going on this diet. That's an issue. And this goes back to what I mentioned earlier, is just having a why for why you're doing anything. Whether that is why you're having to make a decision about your diet, whether that is why you're coming in and training, whether that is why you're doing what you're doing professionally, or why you spend time with your family or you don't spend time with your family. I mean, what's your reason for that? Maybe the reason you don't spend time with your family is because you're trying to set them up for a more successful future so that you do have more time to spend with them in the long term. At least you're being honest in that scenario and you can express that to someone instead of just saying like, yeah, I'm working and it's just hard to spend time with my family. You should have a why for why you're doing that. And it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just you giving yourself an understanding of why it is you're doing what you're doing. So when it comes to the diet, understanding or nutrition, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I wanting to have a diet where I'm going low carb? Why do I want to gain muscle? Is it because I'm associating that with gaining strength? Is that because I want to feel better about the way my clothes fit? Is that because I see an image of someone and it makes me uncomfortable because I want to be more like that? Understand what that why is. That way you can set up a plan to get to whatever that goal is at the end of the why. Be very, very honest with yourself in that scenario. In a lot of ways, I would tell people to either write it down or have someone that you can share that why with. That way you're accountable, it's out in the open, and it's available for people to hold you to, whether that's yourself or someone else. But have a why, express that, and then work relentlessly towards what that why is. Understand why you're doing that. The way that I express this with clients that I work with is every single time that you sit down to eat, what is the reason that you're eating what you are eating? Is it supporting your goals or is it working against your goals? I have a client who, in this same kind of situation, it kind of goes along with the cheat meal. She has a son who has some disabilities, and every Friday he wants to have pizza. And she said that I feel like that's the thing that's ruining my diet. And I said, I don't think that's the answer for what's ruining your diet. And I think that you could do that. You just have to change the emotional connection to what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why you're doing it. So for her, I tried to reframe that in the context of, what's the reason that you're having pizza with your son? Is it because you just don't want to tell him no and he wants to have pizza, so you're letting him have pizza? Or is it an opportunity for you to share a meal with him that you know that he enjoys and he likes to enjoy with you on a weekly basis? If that's what the reason is, then that's your why. And what you can do to change that is you can have him potentially make that pizza with you, so that way you have the ability to spend some time together. You can start to put his kind of favorite toppings on it, that sort of thing. You can give him the investment in what he's doing and why he's doing that. And you get the benefit of controlling the ingredients that go into that pizza. Or it's just that you look at it and you say, if he says, hey, I have to have it from here for whatever his reason might be for that, then you limit the amount that you're eating. So you can still share that pizza with him, just understand that there's a consequence to eating that particular piece of pizza, and account for that in what the rest of your day's meals look like, or that week's meal, so that way you're accounting for what you're doing, but you still have the opportunity to spend that time or share that meal with your son. So when it comes to things like that, it's just reframing it and understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that's one of the things, like when it comes to meal prep, that people sort of miss. They prepare food because they know they're supposed to, but when they eat it, they're just like, I hate this. I don't want to eat this. This is not, I'm tired of eating this thing. Versus for me, I usually look at it as what's the reason that I'm having the meal that I'm having when I'm having it. So post-workout, I always have a meal that's fairly heavy in carbs. So it's almost always white potatoes or rice and sweet potatoes mixed in. So I've got a mix of carbs, lean protein, and very limited fat, because I know that for me, the specific intent of that meal is recovering from the workout, from the volume of the workout that I'm doing, and it gives me the opportunity to train again the next day from a functional perspective. So I disconnect the meal prep portion of it and the hating eating this thing, and I then connect it with the why for why I'm having that particular meal. So anytime that you're getting ready to eat something, drink something, whatever the case might be, just look at that and say, is this supporting my goals, or is this working in opposition to my goals? If you find yourself frequently saying this is working in opposition to my goals, it's probably an opportunity for change. Or if it's continuing to support your goals, you're then connecting it emotionally to something deeper than just simply having a meal, or looking at it as just, I have to eat food, this is what I'm having. So it gives us a little bit different connection when it comes to that. And probably the last thing that I'll say whenever it comes to nutrition and common mistakes is just looking at, I'll say, kind of looking at images of what someone else is doing and thinking that what they're eating is X, Y, and Z. That's something I'll hear pretty frequently, is people will just say, well, like, this person says that they're eating chicken and broccoli and rice at every meal. We'll say it's a bodybuilder and eating chicken, broccoli, and rice at every meal. And every picture they post on Instagram is them eating chicken, broccoli, and rice. If you don't see what that person is eating and doing every single meal of the day, don't trust that just because they're telling you that, that's what they're doing. Unless they're very, very, very transparent, I would venture to say that that's going to be very rare that that's the case. People who are at the very end of, let's say, a cutting cycle before they're going to walk on stage are going to be some of the most nutritionally strict people that you will ever meet. They're willing to go through a whole lot of discomfort and uncomfortable feelings in order to reach a particular goal. But thinking that that's what they eat on their cutting phase when they're posting every meal, and look what I have, and there's no fat in this, and there's this and that, thinking that's what they're eating for the other 344 days in a given year is probably not accurate. And if that's the story they're telling you, then they're probably not someone that can be trusted whenever it comes to you asking them nutrition questions. You should understand, if you're working with someone who is listening to kind of the needs that you have, and they're helping you understand how to properly meet those needs, and they're not just feeding you something that they think is going to look good to you or is going to appear good to you. So looking at it and just saying that's what this person on social media looks like, and this is what I'm assuming they're eating, or this is what they're telling me they're eating, doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're eating, and it definitely doesn't mean that that's the thing that you should be eating. So listen to what people are saying who you trust, who can be very open with you. If you are working with someone who is not willing to be open or transparent about the things that they're eating or the things that they're doing, then it's probably not a coach that's going to be right for you from a relationship perspective, because if you're going to be vulnerable, you want someone that's going to be open to that and willing to be vulnerable with you. And in a lot of those cases, it should be someone who probably isn't necessarily sharing every single thing that they eat on an every single day basis, because they're not necessarily trying to prove something. They're eating in a way that makes sense to them. So if you're being shamed or made to feel bad because of something that you're eating or that you're not eating that someone else is doing, there needs to be an understanding of why that is. So be willing to look at the entire picture, which I know that's something I kind of mention pretty frequently, is just be aware of the entire picture of what someone's nutrition looks like, and be able to paint a picture that makes sense for you, not what someone else might be doing, whether it's their goals, whether it's what they're doing that are different than yours. Don't just think that because they're doing something means that it's the right thing for you, or that you're seeing them do something means that it's the right thing for you, because there's just a whole lot of variables that kind of come into that and being able to put together that entire picture. So that's some basic stuff to kind of go off of, just some common mistakes. And it might not be things that you're making in every single case, or mistakes that you're making that are causing issues. But if there's anything that's in there that doesn't make sense, or something that definitely sounds like something that you're doing, be aware and be open to change that. Be honest with it. I know I've said that several times, but be honest about what that mistake is. That way you have the ability to change it, versus trying to kind of push it off and say it's not that big of a deal, or it's not something, when in reality it could be a much bigger deal than we're kind of realizing whenever it comes to nutrition and just sort of the opportunities that are available with kind of nailing down our nutrition. So yeah, that's common mistakes. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask me or any of the other coaches, and I'm sure that we're all more than happy to answer some basic questions and kind of guide you along the path that'll sort of set you up to work towards your goals in a more kind of direct way.